Accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for joining live with us. We are studying Srimad-bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Son of Drona Punished. We'll begin by saying the prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Snapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurtushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad-bhagavatam, Chapter 7, Shloka number 35. We are discussing the episode where Ashwatthama, out of fear, has released the deadliest weapon called Brahmastra. And Arjuna, on seeing that, first of all prays to Lord Krishna and then asks Lord Krishna for the solution. The Lord says, you also shoot another Brahmastra, and in this way you withdraw both the powerful weapons. After this, the Lord becomes angry with Ashwatthama, and then he speaks to Arjuna that you should punish him, reading from there onwards. Mainam partharhasi tratum brahma bandhum imam jahi yo asab anagasah suptan avadin nishi balakan. Lord Shri Krishna said, O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahmana, Brahma Bandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep. Krishna is calling Ashwatthama Brahma Bandhu. He's not calling Ashwatthama Brahmana. Why? Because Ashwatthama is not acting like a Brahmana. So when a particular person belonging to a particular caste or varna does not act as per the nature of that varna, then that person is in a sarcastic manner called. a friend of that particular caste. So, which means, okay, you are related to them, but you are not actually of that nature. So he's being called here as Brahma Bandhu. But the word Brahma Bandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in the family of a Brahmana, but is not qualified to be called a Brahmana, is addressed as a relative of a Brahmana and not as a Brahmana. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm in addressing a high court judge's son as a relative of the honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmana simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. As the High Court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, so also the post of a Brahmana is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that if good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family other than that of a Brahmana, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmana is void of Brahmanical qualification, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmana, or in better terms, a relative of a Brahmana. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences and is about to explain the reason for this in the following shlokas. When we understand or when we read these statements given in Srimad-bhagavatam, we understand that Srimad-bhagavatam, the great personalities who are pure devotees of Krishna and the Supreme Lord Himself, they are essence seekers. They seek the essence. They don't take anything by that thing's appearance, which means they don't really go for the face value. They go for the reality. A person may appear to be a Brahmana, but if a person doesn't have the qualities of a Brahmana, then that person should not be accepted. So, looking at the essential thing, that's important. And that's how any intelligent person should be. A person should be saragrahi. Saragrahi means always collecting the essence. That's the difference between a swan and a crow. A swan takes the essence, a crow takes the nonsense. But a swan takes the essence. What is most important? So a person is to be known by that person's qualities and that person's activities. And if that matches with a Brahmana, well and good, then you accept that person as a Brahmana. If not, then don't go by the face value. Then you accept that person as that person is. That's how the great personalities see. Next verse, text 36. Matang pramattam unmattam suptam balam striyam jadam prapannam viratham bhitam naripum hanti dharmavit. Very beautiful shloka. So here the Lord is telling to Arjuna, mattam pramattam unmattam suptam balam striyam jadam prapannam viratham bhitam naripum hanti dharmavit. A person who knows the principles of religion, dharmavit. Dharma, with means to know. Dharma means religion. So one who knows the principles of religion does not kill an enemy, ripum means enemy, who is careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Nor does he kill a boy, a woman, a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. So it's saying that one who knows dharma, a kshatriya basically, will not kill his enemy if that enemy is in a particular state of existence, like careless, intoxicated, insane, asleep, afraid, or devoid of his chariot. Or if the enemy happens to be a boy, or a woman, or a foolish creature, or a surrendered soul. In these tense situations or cases, one should not kill. So what did Ashwatthama do? Kill whom? First of all, kill boys, right? Second, when they were asleep. Kill the boys when they were asleep. So he did not act as someone who knows dharma. He broke the principles of dharma, right? So the Lord is saying he went wrong. An enemy who does not resist is never killed by a warrior who knows the principles of religion. Formerly, battles were fought on the principles of religion and not for the sake of sense gratification. Now, this is so important, you know. Prabhupada is brilliant, his writings are brilliant. He will put instructions in every single line. We just need to have the eyes and the sincerity to see that. He's saying people in the past did not fight for the sake of sense gratification. What to speak of fighting for the sake of sense gratification? People in the past who were followers of Dharma, they did not do anything for sense gratification. Whatever they did it as a matter of duty. Even, let's say, they enjoyed sense objects, they enjoyed those sense objects as a matter of duty. Right? Even they enjoyed the sense objects as a matter of duty. Now you may say, how is that possible? How can you do sense gratification as a matter of duty? Well, you can do a dutiful sense gratification as well. It's possible. Which means in a dutiful manner you can enjoy your senses. How? Very simple. Just if you understand, or if anyone understands, that I've been given this body, and this body has a basic requirement, which means it needs some food to eat, it needs some rest. The senses need some sense objects to be, fed into it so that it can survive. The body will not survive if it doesn't eat sufficiently or sleep sufficiently. So if in a dutiful manner one is just providing the body what the body needs, that's called dutiful sense gratification. That is not disallowed, that is allowed. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All four things are allowed if they are done in a regulated sense, regulated amount. It's not allowed. It's allowed. So even sense gratification can be done in a dutiful manner, right? Isn't it? But one who's not trained so, who does not know this science and the importance of this science, falls from that dutiful mentality to doing every single thing just for the sake of fun, just for the sake of some, temporary pleasure, some stimulation of the senses. And that's what, honestly speaking, has become of this modern generation. The modern generation, I'm talking about the present generation of young boys and girls, youths, mostly, most of them, they don't know this word called duty. They don't have any sense of what it means to be dutiful. They will just do if it feels good, if they like it. So much on mental platform, so much on sensual platform. Everything, whether even when you talk about religion or you talk about spirituality, it's all about if I feel good, I'll do it. If I like it, I will do it. But there is no sense of duty, there is no sense of sacrifice, right? That I must do it whether I like or not. If it is what I am supposed to do, I will do, right? That's going down day by day, day by day, day by day. That principle, following that principle, is going down. So by this saying, in the past, people fought also as a matter of duty. They killed also as a matter of duty, not for sense gratification. And here Ashwatthama failed to do that. If the enemy happened to be intoxicated, asleep, etc., as above mentioned, he was never to be killed. These are some of the codes of religious war. Formerly, war was never declared by the whims of selfish political leaders, like the way it's going on between Ukraine and Russia. It was carried out on religious principles free from all vices. Violence carried out on religious principles is far superior to so-called non-violence. Right, next verse. स्वप्राणान्यः परप्राणैः प्रपुष्णात् यकृणः खलः तद्वधस्तस्य हि श्रेयो यद्दोषाद् यदः पुमान्. A cruel and wretched person who maintains his existence at the cost of others' lives deserves to be killed for his own well-being, otherwise he'll go down by his own actions. So what is Krishna saying? If someone does the act of killing others, for the sake of sense gratification, then what is the punishment that person deserves? That person should be killed, sentenced to death, right? Otherwise, that person will glide down where? To hell by his own actions. So that is what Manusmriti says, that if someone has killed someone unjustly, then you kill that person as a matter of punishment. No life sentencement, direct killing. Punishment like that. But a life for a life is just punishment for a person who cruelly and shamelessly lives at the cost of another's life. Political morality is to punish a person by a death sentence in order to save a cruel person from going to hell. That a murderer is condemned to a death sentence by the state is good for the culprit, because in the next life he will not have to suffer for his act of murder. Such a death sentence for the murderer is the lowest possible punishment offered to him. And it is said in the Smriti Shastras that men who are punished by the king on the principle of a life for a life are purified of all their sins, so much so that they be eligible for being promoted to the planets of heaven. According to Manu, the great author of civic codes and religious principles, even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer. Because animal food is never meant for the civilized man, whose prime duty is to prepare himself for going back to Godhead. He says that in the act of killing an animal, there is a regular conspiracy by the party of sinners, and all of them are liable to be punished as murderers, exactly like a party of conspirators who kill a human being combinedly. He who gives permission for animal killing, he who kills the animal, he who sells the animal slaughtered, he who cooks the animal, he who administers distribution of food stuff, and at last he who eats such cooked animal food are all murderers, and all of them are liable to be punished by the laws of nature. Very interesting. No one can create a living being despite all advancement of material science, and therefore no one has the right to kill a living being by one's independent whims. For the animal eaters, the scriptures have sanctioned restricted animal sacrifices only, and such sanctions are there just to restrict the opening of slaughterhouses and not to encourage animal clinging. The procedure under which animal sacrifice is allowed in the scriptures is good both for the animal sacrifice and the animal eaters. It is good for the animal in the sense that the sacrificed animal is at once promoted to the human form of life after being sacrificed at the altar, and the animal eater is saved from grosser types of sins, eating meat supplied by organized slaughterhouses, which are ghastly places for breeding all kinds of material afflictions to society, country, and the people in general. The material world is itself a place always full of anxieties, and by encouraging animal slaughter, the whole atmosphere becomes polluted more and more by war, pestilence, famine, and many other unwanted calamities. So two things are mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada. First, a human being, if that person is cruelly and mercilessly killing other human beings, that person should be killed. In that way, that person is saved from further punishment in hell, and that person is saved from the punishment that person is going to get in the coming births in future. Why this is so? Very simple. Any person does anything wrong, the reaction is going to come. The more the delay is there in that reaction to come, the greater then the amount of punishment begins. The sooner you get punishment, the lesser the amount. The greater the delay in getting the punishment, the bigger the amount. The greater the delay. Like I'll give you a simple example. If let's say a student does some mistake or a child does some mistake, and the mother really wants to teach the child a lesson, or the teacher really wants to teach the child a lesson. So the mother will say to the child, you did this wrong. If you accept, if you admit, then I'll give you one slap. Right? If you admit. And if you don't admit, then I'll give you 5 slaps. So if the child says, no mama, fart, again, no, I did not do that. Second, then no, I did not. Then third, I don't know, fourth, then fourth may become fifth, may become 10th also. And then we'll say, I did. Then the mother will stop. Why? Because the mother wants the child to admit, I did the mistake. Because if you don't admit, how will you ever learn? First of all, you admit. Then next thing is that you will not do. So if the child does not admit, mother increases the number of slaps, isn't it? Or the teacher increases the punishment, right? And if the child admits, then the mother will say or teacher will say, okay, this much punishment you deserve because some punishment you should get. Likewise, when a person does a mistake and that person admits, or at least the person accepts and is punished, then after the punishment, the person is forgiven. Now you are again blank slate. Done. Punishment given, forgiven. But if that person doesn't admit or there is a delay in punishing that person, then the punishment increases. There is an interest on it, right? It increases, first of all. Second thing, when a person is not duly punished, then the tendency to do the same wrong is also increasing. It's natural. If you do something wrong and you are not punished, then you become overconfident. Oh, I escaped for this time, second time also I can escape. Then third time also I can escape. Right? Natural, right? That tendency will be there. So what will happen? Then that person will be more careless and will do the same thing again. More careless and will do the same thing. And this is seen, this is proven. If you want to do research on this, go ahead, do the research. Go to some jail, meet the people who are there, the prisoners, and you ask them. And you'll find that those people who did a crime and for the first time they were not caught or they were not punished, they happen to do the same crime again. Same crime again. Because they got this, they became a little fearless. I escaped for the first time, second time also I can. Third time also I can. And then they do the same thing because they did not get punished. So that fear, the necessary fear never came in. So this is scientific. And this should be accepted or this should be understood by all the people who play the role of educators, trainers, guardians. They should know that when someone below you or under you does some mistake, make sure that you give that person a just punishment. Don't leave that person or don't let that person go away without that person at least becoming aware of his or her mistake. Don't do that. Scriptures say that you can overlook a person's mistake 3 times, not more than that. 3 times you can overlook mistakes. That also not grave mistakes, some general mistakes which happens because of being a human being. A human being is always defective, so generally some mistakes a person will do, right? But then you don't overlook even after 3 times. And this we saw in Prabhupada's life. His personal servant, his Shruti Karti Prabhu mentioned this, that Prabhupada, when he saw people around him doing mistakes, he noted it. For the first time when he saw, he didn't tell anything. Second time he saw, he didn't tell anything. Third time he saw, then after that he definitely told that this is what we are doing wrong. Like let's say a person, it's giving a simple, vague example. A person has a bad habit of leaving the door open after, exiting from the room. If the door was closed, he will open the door and just leave it open instead of closing it back. So that's a very minor mistake. So Prabhupada would tolerate for the first time, second time, third time. And then he would say, why do you always leave the door open? Right? After 3 times. First time, maybe sometimes by mistake he might have left, or this is the first time he's leaving the door open. But it should be observed and people should be notified. Not that we just overlook and overlook and overlook and overlook. So much we overlook that then that person is never given an opportunity to learn or to change. It should be done. And it should be both ways. As a person who is giving correction, one should be sensitive, one should be, just and all that. And as the other person one should also be very ready to accept corrections, to accept, points of, to accept suggestions. Because if we don't, we will not learn, we will not change, we will not grow. It's very important. A devotee, or at least anyone who wants to excel on the path of spirituality, should be very eager to receive feedback from people, corrections from people. Because if we don't, how will we change? How will we become better? Who is going to tell us this is what you are doing wrong? Is Krishna in the form of deity going to come and tell us everything? That Prabhu or Mataji, you don't bow down properly, you don't chant your japa nicely, we don't put tilak properly. Is Krishna going to tell every single thing to us? No. Is our spiritual master going to come every time in the dream and tell us small, small things? No. So who is going to tell us? Those who are around us, they will tell us, right? Because they observe us. They will tell us that your chanting is not nice. You chant at the speed of Rajdhani running, right? You don't chant properly, attentively, or you sleep during chanting, or you do this, you don't do this properly, you do that. So people have to tell, and we have to let them tell us. Then we can change, we can improvise. So punishment should be given. Not that every time we overlook or neglect. When it's required, it should be given. At the same time, it should not be overly done, right? If you overly do it, then that will break that person, basically, right? It should not be overly done, and it should not be completely neglected. No. It's a manifestation, actually. Love only manifests in the form of correction. Correction is a form of love only, correct? It's a different kind of love, not so pleasant, not so sweet, but it is love only. Why would I correct someone? Only if I actually care for that person. Then would I bother? No. Why? Otherwise, I won't bother. Otherwise, I think you go to hell. I don't care. Isn't it? Only when I bother, only when I have concern, then I would correct. So what's wrong about it? There's nothing wrong about it. So the person who is correcting should correct out of compassion. And the other person who is receiving correction or punishment should also know that the person who is doing that, giving it to me, is acting out of compassion, not acting out of hatred. It's not acting out of ill intention. That person wants good of me. And when that attitude is there, it becomes very easy to accept correction. Because you know that person wants to do good to you. That person is not doing any harm to you. You would accept it. So here it is mentioned, first of all, that the human being, if they are killers, they should be killed. Second, if let's say they are involved in animal slaughter, that's also another kind of murder, so they should also be rightly punished. And Prabhupada mentioned 6 types of people. Not just one who kills, one who even sanctions killing, one who participates in that. And this is a reason why devotees are strongly suggested they should not take up any occupation which is directly related to breaking of 4 regulative principles. They should not take up any occupation which is directly related to breaking of 4 regulative principles, because a major portion of sin is going to come on that person's head then, because we are supporting it, right? Now, I met a young boy and he started practicing Krishna consciousness. So I asked him, what do you want to become in future? Say, I want to become a chef. Say, chef? So chef in which place? I don't know. If I become a chef, I have to maybe sometimes also prepare non-vegetarian food stuff. And so I told him that if you are a devotee, then why did you ever choose such kind of, profession? There are thousands of other professions. Why in the world you want to become a chef only? When you know that you have to, cut animals, serve animals, cook animals, this is sinful. What do you think? On one hand, you chant Hare Krishna, on the other hand, you kill animals, Krishna is going to be very happy with you. No. Soon enough, that chanting will also stop, because if your heart is cruel, your heart is hard, how can you chant Hare Krishna properly? Only a soft heart can chant Krishna's name properly, right? How can a cruel person chant holy name properly? The name will not come on your mouth. So like that, a devotee should be very intelligent, not take up professions which are related to breaking of 4 regulative principles. Sinful. It will come upon us. Even if we are not breaking, but we are supporting those who are breaking, it's going to come on our head. We are supporting that, right? So that's mentioned here. Next verse, text 38. प्रतिश्रुतं च भवता पाञ्चाल्यै शृण्वतो मम आहरिष्ये शिरस्तस्य yaste mani niputraha. Furthermore, I personally heard you promise Draupadi that you would bring forth the head of the killer of her sons. So Krishna is telling, you kill Ashwatthama. Why? First of all, he's not acting as a Brahmana. Second, let's say let's not take him as a Brahmana, let's take him as a Kshatriya. Then he even not properly acted as a Kshatriya, because a Kshatriya should not kill these 10 kinds of people. He killed, right? Yeah. And third, why you should punish him? Because you have promised also Arjuna. You have given your word to Draupadi that you will kill this person, cut off his head and bring to Draupadi. Isn't it? So this is another argument that Krishna is giving, that you are a Kshatriya and you have vowed, so you should not fail in your vow. Next, tad asau vadyatang papa atatayatma bandhuha bhartuscha vipriyam vira kritavan kullapamsanaha. This man is an assassin and murderer of your own family members. Not only that, but he is also dissatisfied his master. Now you see, the fifth reason is he is assassin, murderer of your family members, means he's an aggressor, atataya. So he's an atatai for you personally, he's an atatai, so you should kill this person. Not only that, but he's also dissatisfied his master. Who is his master? Duryodhana. He dissatisfied Duryodhana. Duryodhana was not happy with him. His but the burnt remnants of his family kill him immediately. Means he's a useless fellow. He doesn't even befit to be called as the son of Dronacharya. Useless. So kill him immediately, Arjuna. This is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Kill him. Don't wait. The son of Dronacharya is condemned here as the burnt remnants of his family. The good name of Dronacharya was very much respected. Although he joined the enemy camp, the Pandavas held him always in respect, and Arjuna saluted him before beginning the fight. There was nothing wrong in that way. But the son of Dronacharya degraded himself by committing acts which are never done by the Dvijas or the twice born higher castes. Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya, committed murder by killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi, by which he dissatisfied his master. Duryodhana, who never approved of the heinous act of killing the 5 sleeping sons of the Pandavas. This means that Ashwathama became an assaulter of Arjuna's own family members, and thus he was liable to be punished by him. In the Shastras, it is said, he who attacks without notice, or kills from behind, or sets fire to another's house, or kidnaps one's wife is condemned to death. We studied this in Bhagavad Gita also, right? Krishna reminded Arjuna of these facts so that he might take notice of them and do the needful. So Krishna has given many arguments actually why Arjuna should kill Ashwathama, right? Sutta Uvacha. Evam parikshata dharmam partha krishnena choditaha naicha dhantum guru sutam yadyapya atmahanam mahan. Sutta Goswami said, although Krishna was examining Arjuna in religion, Krishna was examining Arjuna in religion, means Krishna was testing Arjuna at that time. Encourage Arjuna to kill the son of Dronacharya. Arjuna, a great soul, did not like the idea of killing him, although Ashwathama was a heinous murderer of Arjuna's family members. So it's very interesting now. Krishna is telling Arjuna, kill. And Arjuna is not liking the idea to kill. He's not comfortable with this suggestion of Krishna. Not comfortable. Though Krishna has given him logical arguments, but Arjuna, from inside, he is not really, agreeing with it. Not agreeing with this. So, we can take one lesson from this, a very important lesson. Krishna was actually testing Arjuna. Krishna wanted to see that how much Arjuna as a person understands dharma and how will he use his own good intelligence to act in this matter. Now, this is what sometimes a teacher or a guru does, that they would test the intelligence of the disciple and understanding of disciple. Even we see Shukdev Goswami doing that with Parikshit Maharaj. Sometimes he would say something to Parikshit Maharaj, and then in a manner that he would test Parikshit Maharaj. Let's see what Parikshit Maharaj is going to say. And Parikshit Maharaj then would reply from his own understanding, and Shukdev Goswami would appreciate that. Oh, fine, so you are on the right path, you understand it properly. This is how a teacher knows from the student whether that student is learning the lessons well, right? Sometimes the teacher would make a wrong statement just to see if the student catches it. Okay, what you said now is wrong because previously you taught us something different. So this is for the teacher to check whether this person really understands. And Krishna was doing that with Arjuna. If Arjuna is very much fixed on the path of dharma, and Arjuna was, that's why when Krishna told him, you kill, Arjuna was not really eager, he was hesitant. Now, how do we understand this? I mean, from another angle, if you see, is this not wrong to disobey the instructions of the Supreme Lord? Because surrender means that, yes, sir, you say and I do, isn't it? You say shoot, shoot. You say jump, jump. You say kill me yourself, kill yourself, isn't it? That's what a surrender soul should do. Like an army soldier, yes, sir. In everything, yes, sir, yes, sir. So how do we know whether, our teacher is testing us or our teacher ordering us or instructing us, isn't it? Because here Krishna is not telling Arjuna, okay, Arjuna, now exam time, I'm testing you. He's not doing that, right? He's not doing that. So then how do I know whether I'm being tested or whether I'm being instructed? What's going on? How do we know? Now, the truth is, that same person who is from outside speaking to you, that same personality is inside sitting as Paramatma. Same person, right? And a sincere student who hears something from outside is always checking that thing from inside. Is cross-checking. And how do you do that? You just have to be honest and sincere. You just have to be honest and sincere. That I heard something from outside, though it might be coming from a bona fide source, coming from one spiritual master, coming from one superiors, seniors, whoever, but then one can always check it inside, that I have heard so much in the past, I have associated with sadhus, I have read the scriptures, and from there, this is what I understand. Do these two things match? When these two things don't match, then that time one can do what? That time one can do a satadharma prichha, jigyasa, inquire. Satadharma prichha, inquire. That you see, my understanding, it says this is what should be done. And in this situation, you are telling me this to do. So can you please now elaborate and explain to me? When we do that, this is not called disobeying the order. That is not called disobeying the order. Because you are just cross-checking, you are just inquiring to know better. And there's nothing wrong about it. One can do that. At that time, if we say, no, what you say is totally wrong without actually inquiring and trying to understand, that would be not correct. And if we just blindly accept, that will also not be correct. That is also not correct, right? So, like this incident, it happened with Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Srila Prabhupada was once walking with disciples, and then he was telling some things to them. So he told about a building, and the disciples said, yes, Prabhupada, we shall buy it. Then Prabhupada told them about a car. He said, yes, Prabhupada, we should buy it. And Prabhupada told about a dog. Yes, Prabhupada will keep a dog also. And then Prabhupada chastised them. He said, what? Yes. Don't be blind followers. Right? What will you do of a dog? Right? So the Prabhupada noticed that these people were just saying yes for everything, not thinking about it, not using their intelligence. So one has to cross-check inside. And a sincere, honest person will be always given the right direction from inside by Paramatma, the Super Soul. The Super Soul will show. But how much the Super Soul will show will depend on how much sincerely we have been listening to the voice of the Super Soul. The more you make the Super Soul your friend, the more the Super Soul will protect you from being cheated. And the more we not listen to the sincere guidance of the super soul coming from inside, the more the super soul will stop guiding us when we need. But the more we start listening to him and make him a friend, the more then the super soul will always give us the right direction, right intelligence, right support will come. It will come naturally. It will come. So it depends on us. This is very important in the journey of a spiritualist. Srila Prabhupada has mentioned it. If you have done ISKCON disciple course, there is a quotation by Prabhupada, of course quoting from scripture, that Krishna helps a devotee, a sadhaka, from inside and outside. From outside as the spiritual master, as the scriptures, from inside as the super soul. And we should know this, if we want to go back to Godhead, we need to develop a very friendly and strong relationship with the super soul. Also with the scriptures, also with the spiritual master. And how do you develop that relationship? Developing relationship is a science, isn't it? You want to develop a relationship with anyone, it's a science. Now, if I want to have a good relationship with a person, it means that every interaction I have with that person, it should leave an impression on that person that I am sincere, I am honest, I can be trusted, I am genuine. Then the relationship grows, right? But whenever this understanding doesn't develop and the other person is always thinking, oh, this person is not trustworthy at all, he or she is a cheater, then that relationship does not grow. So as a sadhaka, the more I listen to the good counsel of the super soul, the more my relationship with the super soul becomes deeper and sweeter, better and better. And then there is a higher level of guidance that will be given by the super soul. And the more I neglect that voice, the more I am careless about following the instructions of the super soul, then the super soul also takes a back seat. Okay, fine. You be the way you are, right? You do what you like to do. And in that way, that support becomes weaker and weaker, weaker and weaker, weaker and weaker. Right? So here Arjuna checked with his conscience and he found this is not something correct. I cannot kill him, Ashwatthama. So he did not. He did not act on that instruction of Krishna. Right? He did not do that. So, reading the purport. Arjuna was a great soul undoubtedly, which is proved here also. He is encouraged herein personally by the Lord to kill the sin of Drona. But Arjuna considers that the son of his great teacher should be spared, for he happens to be the son of Dronacharya. Even though he is an unworthy son, having done all sorts of heinous acts, whimsically for no one's benefit. Lord Shri Krishna encouraged Arjuna outwardly just to test Arjuna's sense of duty. It is not that Arjuna was incomplete in the sense of his duty, nor was Lord Shri Krishna unaware of Arjuna's sense of duty. But Lord Shri Krishna puts to the test many of his pure devotees just to magnify this sense of duty. The gopis were put to such tests as well. Prahlad Maharaj was also put to such a test. All pure devotees come out successful in the respective tests by the Lord. This is so beautiful if we understand it. Krishna will put us to test. Why? Not just to actually test us, but also to use us to teach to others. And a devotee should be ready for such tests. Right? Because Krishna wants to use us to do something for the benefit of others. So he will make us a medium. And a devotee should be ready to do that. Like, I give you an example. Krishna wants to teach people that even if you are suffering like hell, but you are not giving up Krishna consciousness, then how will Krishna do that? He will put one of his devotees in such a situation and show the world, you see, look at my devotee. He or she is suffering like hell, but at the same time, he or she is doing Krishna consciousness. So learn from him or her. Krishna will do that. And this movement of Krishna consciousness, or being a devotee of Krishna connected to this wonderful parampara, let us not take this as a joke. It is not, Like, for example, if you join the commando forces of any country, that's not joke, that's a serious business, right? Which means what? The country is going to use you for anything and everything. Correct? For anything and everything. In most dangerous situations, the country is going to call you and say, call of duty, chalo, right? Isn't it? So if a person working as commandos for the country is having so much of responsibility on his or her shoulder, then what to speak of a devotee of Krishna? Being a devotee itself means Krishna expects a lot from me, because Krishna is going to use me to teach to others who are not devotees. So when we join this path, we should know we are joining a very serious business. And if you don't understand that, then what happens is we are not able to then make a sense out of what is going on in our life. And we get easily confused and disturbed. Why this is happening with me? Why this is happening with me? I expected something else, but something else is going on. You know? But we don't know that you joined something very serious, and Krishna is now using you. Krishna is trying to use you if you allow, isn't it? Krishna is using you. And if that understanding is developed, one should be very happy that till now, third class people were using me to do so many things. And now the Supreme Lord is using me to do something. That's my great fortune. Isn't it? I always tell people, in this world, who is not trying to use us? Everyone is trying to use us. That's the whole world. That's what the whole world is. I'm sorry to say, everyone. It includes your family members, includes your family, society. Everyone is trying to use you. Everyone. So if after all we have to be used, why not be used by Krishna? If we have to be used, why not be used by pure devotees of Krishna? That's the best. That's the best thing. So Krishna will use us, but we have to allow Krishna to use us. And then how he will use us, we will not know. But if we allow Krishna to use us, after years and years, we will realize, oh, this is what the Supreme Lord wanted to be done through me. So we should be ready for it. Then that's what will make our life glorious. Giving an example, Krishna is using His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj to teach to the whole world that even in such a state of physical existence, one can chant the holy names, one can be happy, one can practice Krishna consciousness, one can travel all over the world and preach. Right? He's using him, and Maharaj is allowing Krishna to use him. Right? In this way, Maharaj is becoming glorious more and more, right? Krishna consciousness is becoming glorious more and more. This is a tight slap on the faces of those people who say there is no pure devotee in Islam, right? Tight slap, very tight slap, right? So Krishna is using, but how is Krishna using? Because someone like Maharaj is allowing Krishna to use. That okay, you want to use me to teach. So devotee's life, if there is suffering, we should know this is Krishna's plan for me to be used. And we should allow that, right? We should allow that. If there are negative things happening, challenges, Krishna is using me. Krishna is trying to do something through me. Take it in that way, and then we'll be so much pacified that after all, it's Krishna's plan. Let me just accept it. I'm being used. And the thing is, those who are pure devotees, they will be successful in the test of the Lord. They will not fail. Next verse. Atopetya swa shibiram govinda priyasarthihi naed vedayatang priyaye shochantya atmajanhatan. After reaching his own camp, Arjuna, along with his dear friend and charioteer Sri Krishna, entrusted the murderer unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. So Arjuna, he did not kill Ashwatthama, he caught him and took him to the camp and then he entrusted unto his dear wife, who was lamenting for her murdered sons. Purport. The transcendental relationship of Arjuna with Krishna is of the dearmost friendship. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has claimed Arjuna as his dearmost friend. Every living being is thus related with the Supreme Lord by some sort of affectionate relation, either as servant or as friend or as parent or as an object of conjugal love. Everyone thus can enjoy the company of the Lord in the spiritual realm if he at all desires and sincerely tries for it by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Text 42. Tatha hitam pashuvat pashabaddham avanmukham karma jugupsitena nirikshaya Krishna pakritam gurosutam vama subhava kripaya nanamacha. Vama subhava, leftist. So a lady, Draupadi, is a Vama Sabhava, leftist mentality. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Draupadi then saw Ashwatthama was bound with ropes like an animal and silent for having enacted the most inglorious murder. So Ashwatthama was bound with ropes like an animal and he was silent. Due to her female nature and due to her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him due respects as a Brahmana. So, due to her female nature and her being naturally good and well behaved, she showed him respect. He was a Brahmana and he was the son of Dronacharya. So, Guru's son, Guru Putra. Purport. Ashwatthama was condemned by the Lord himself and he was treated by Arjuna just like a culprit, not like the son of a Brahmana or teacher. But when he was brought before Srimati Draupadi, she, although begrieved for the murder of her sons, and although murderer was present before her, could not withdraw the due respect generally offered to a Brahmana or to the son of a Brahmana. This is due to her mild nature as a woman. Women as a class are no better than boys, and therefore they have no discriminatory power like that of a man. Ashwatthama proved himself to be an unworthy son of Dronacharya or of a Brahmana, and for this reason he was condemned by the greatest authority, Lord Shri Krishna. And yet a mild woman could not withdraw her natural courtesy for a Brahmana. Even to date, in a Hindu family, a woman shows proper respect to the Brahmana caste, however fallen and heinous a Brahma Bandhu may be. But the men have begun to protest against Brahma Bandhus who are born in families of good Brahmanas, but by action are less than Shudras. This is natural. This cannot be denied. I have seen this, that generally ladies are soft-hearted and they can easily let go. Forgive people, even if people have done something wrong. They will easily forgive. Is it chalo chalo chhod do, it's okay, leave him, like that kind of nature is there, it's seen that they can easily, they may be very strict, but when they will see the other person is sad or crying or there is some kind of emotional, then they will say chalo, leave, don't cause any kind of pain, leave them. So that's there. But now why they are like that? They have to be like that, otherwise they cannot be good mothers. They have to be like that. So that's the reason Krishna has given them that quality. That, okay, you let go. Don't be so strict. Don't be too much strict. So, but then again think that may not allow them to function properly in all roles and responsibilities, because some roles and responsibilities demand another nature. So then they become little unsuitable for that job. If you talk about doing that job, then unsuitable for that, because their nature will go against it. Even let's say if they do become strict externally, internally they'll not be then very satisfied. Because externally they may do the job of being very strict, but internally this will break their own system. And this we have seen, that when artificially women try to do something which is against their nature, externally they may do it, but then internally they are not very satisfied, because they are going against their nature, So then that doesn't give them that satisfaction inside. They become they are not happy then, and they don't feel as if they are doing the right thing. The specific word used in this shloka is Vama Subhava, mild and gentle by nature. A good man or woman accepts anything very easily, but a man of average intelligence does not do so. But anyway, we should not give up our reason and discriminatory power just to be gentle. One must have good discriminatory power to judge a thing on its merit. We should not follow the mild nature of a woman and thereby accept that which is not genuine. Ashwatthama may be respected by a good natured woman, but that does not mean that he is as good as a genuine Brahmana. Next verse. उवाच चासहन्त्यस्य बन्धनान् नयनं सति मुच्यतामेष brahmano nitarang guruhu. She could not tolerate Ashwatthama's being bound by ropes and being a devoted lady. She said, release him, for he is a Brahmana, our spiritual master. Krishna said he is Brahma Bandhu. She is saying he is a Brahmana. Right? Conflict in opinion. Krishna's opinion is Brahma Bandhu. Her opinion is Brahmana. Right? He is a Brahmana. Why? Because he is the son of our Brahmana Guru, spiritual master. As soon as Ashwatthama was brought before Draupadi, she thought it intolerable that a Brahmana should be arrested like a culprit and brought before her in that condition, especially when the Brahmana happened to be a teacher's son. Arjuna arrested Ashwatthama, knowing perfectly well that he was the son of Dronacharya. Krishna also knew him to be so, but both of them condemned the murderer without consideration of his being the son of a Brahmana. According to revealed scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of a guru or spiritual master. A guru is called also an acharya or a person who has personally assimilated all the essence of shastras and has helped his disciples to adopt the ways. Ashwatthama failed to discharge the duties of a Brahmana or teacher, and therefore he was liable to be rejected from the exalted position of a Brahmana. On this consideration, both Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna were right in condemning Ashwatthama. But to a good lady like Draupadi, the matter was considered not from the angle of Shastric vision, but as a matter of custom. By custom, Ashwatthama was offered the same respect as offered to his father. It was so because generally the people accept the son of a Brahmana as a real Brahmana by sentiment only. Actually, the matter is different. A Brahmana is accepted on the merit of qualification and not on the merit of simply being the son of a Brahmana. But in spite of all this, Draupadi desired that Ashwatthama be at once released, and it was all the same a good sentiment for her. This means that a devotee of the Lord can tolerate all sorts of tribulation personally, but still such devotees are never unkind to others, even to the enemy. These are the characteristics of one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Right? Srila Prabhupada can really confuse people through his purpose. In one place he says, this is the nature of a good lady. In another place he says, this is the nature of a pure devotee of Krishna. That a pure devotee will forgive people and even be kind to those who are unkind. So which one we should take? We take Draupadi as a good lady, or we take Draupadi as a pure devotee? What should we do? We take her as both to learn the lesson. Actually, she is a pure devotee, right? So we take her as that. But then Srila Prabhupada is also giving a lesson through her, using her, that if, let's say, there was someone else in Draupadi's position who was not a pure devotee, and if that person acted in this manner, then he would say, okay, she's behaving like a good lady, who is following the custom of respecting the son of a Brahmana, just like Brahmana. So he's taking lessons, looking at Draupadi from two different angles. One, as a pure devotee, another, as a good lady. Taking lessons like that. Fine. So is Draupadi wrong? No, she is doing her part. She doesn't have to do Arjuna's part. She is Draupadi, she is not Arjuna. So let her think the way she is thinking, isn't it? She will think the way she is thinking, and she is okay with, she is fine. Not that now because Draupadi is thinking like this, so Draupadi should be punished because she is not giving the right opinion, or the opinion which should match with Krishna's opinion. No, it's not necessary like that. She is thinking that way because that's the nature Krishna has given her, right? She is thinking that way. So now, when Draupadi is speaking like this and Krishna spoke like that, who is in problem? Arjuna. What to do? Whom to listen? Should I follow Krishna, or should I follow my dear wife's suggestion? Whom to follow? Right? One place God is there, another place wife is there. Whom to follow? whom to agree with. And he has to please both. He has to make both happy. One is friend, the other is wife. One is the Lord, the other is a devotee. And you have to make both happy. So now Arjuna is another test. Sarahasyo dhanurvedah savisargopasanyamaha astra gramascha bhavata sikshito yad anugrahat. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. So now Draupadi is telling Arjuna, please be little grateful, Arjuna. You learned so much from Dronacharya. And now you are punishing Dronacharya's son like this. So she's telling Arjuna that you should not forget, you got so much from Dronacharya. His father taught you everything, and now you're behaving like this with the son. Now, if you look at this in an unbiased way, don't you think this statement of Draupadi is not befitting here? It's not befitting, no? Does Arjuna not know that Ashwatthama is son of Dronacharya? He knows that. Correct? Is Arjuna doing some act which is ungrateful? Can we say Arjuna is ungrateful? No, we cannot say. Right? But what is making Draupadi speak like this? Can anyone say? Her emotions. That's all. Her emotions. Her emotions. So this is the only thing. Now, if we understand it properly, this is the reason why the scriptures say that in such situations, a woman will not be able to take proper decisions. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's just that the emotions will not allow her. It's not her fault, but just that the emotions will not make that circuit work well. The connections won't be proper, right? The emotions will drive her to talk in a way which will not be really, really correct, or act in a way which will not be correct. What is making Draupadi speak like this? If she thinks intelligently, this statement is very wrong. Is Arjuna not aware that I learned everything from Dronacharya? Of course he is aware. Right? Isn't it? Arjuna is very much aware. When the battle started, Arjuna did shoot arrows to pay respects to Dronacharya, right? Isn't it? So he was very much aware. The whole Bhagavad Gita was spoken because Arjuna did not want to fight and kill his gurus, his teachers. So Arjuna is very well aware that I learned everything from Dronacharya. But why Draupadi is telling this to Arjuna? Her emotions are making her say that. Her emotions are making her say that. Right? And which is that under her control? Is that under? No, not under control. Because that's the nature coming as per the body, as per the mind. Right? As per the body and mind. So we have to know one thing. When the scriptures, they point out deficiency in us. Okay, you are a Brahmana, there is this fault possible in you. You are a Kshatriya, there is this fault possible in you. You are a Vaishya, this fault is possible in you. You are a Shudra, this fault is possible in you. You are a man, this fault is possible in you. You are a woman, this fault is possible in you. We should just accept it. That this fault or this imperfection has come with this baggage which I have, right? I am carrying a baggage which has some fault, so I should just accept it. What's the big deal about it? Accept it and stay humble. That it's a fault of the body. It's not the fault of the soul, of the pure soul. It's the fault of the body, and I accept it. Like when you buy a product from the market, this product has got some limitations and you accept it, isn't it? Correct? And then you use the product knowing very well what are the limitations of the product. Similarly, a living entity has acquired a body which is a product of material nature. And that product comes with some pros and cons. Just accept it and use the product like that. Isn't it? So if we see a woman behaving like a woman, that's natural. And if you see a man behaving like a man, that's natural. Accept it, right? We don't have to curse woman. Why are you behaving like a woman? If she is a woman, she'll behave like a woman. And we don't have to curse a man. Why are you behaving like a man? If he is a man, then he'll behave like a man. That's natural. Just accept it. So Draupadi is like acting like a lady here. So Krishna is not going to now shout at Draupadi, you woman, you don't have any intelligence. Why are you speaking like that? Is Krishna going to do that? No. Krishna is not going to do that. At the same time, does Krishna support all the statements of Draupadi? No. Right? Isn't it? We can learn so much from this episode. Neither Krishna is telling Draupadi, you are a less intelligent lady, Draupadi. He's not doing that. Nor is he saying, okay, Draupadi, what you say is fully correct. We will just follow what you say and will not give him any punishment. No, he's not even saying that. He knows, okay, she being a lady has her opinion. Fine, correct. And because she is thinking like that, I respect her opinion. I may not agree with it, but I respect her opinion. Right? And she is thinking like that because that's her nature. Arjuna, but you do what you are supposed to do. What you will do, what is correct in this situation. So we have to become very mature in learning all these things and act accordingly. By accepting people the way they are, respecting their opinions, at the same time, not just get moved or not just get deviated from what we are supposed to do as our duty. Draupadi is right from her point of view. That's her duty. She is right. But then Arjuna will not be considered right if he starts thinking like Draupadi. Right? He has to think like Arjuna only. And Krishna has to think like Krishna only. That has to be understood. If Draupadi is thinking like this, all fine, all perfect. But Arjuna starts thinking like this, then Krishna will say, Arjuna, you are behaving like a napunsaka. Lebhyam masmagama partha. You're not behaving like a man. Then Krishna will say that. He said in Bhagavad Gita, he can tell again also, no problem. Right? So he will say like that, but he will not say Draupadi, why are you behaving like a woman? No, he will not say. He will not say. So we just have to accept. The problem is all these conflicts, issues, like why this is there, why that is there. We just don't want to accept the reality, and we also don't want to accept the differences. We have to accept the differences and respect that. Respect that. All the 5 Pandavas always, or most of the time, had differences of opinion. But they respected each other and they stayed together each other. And then they came to a decision which was agreeable to each one. Right? They respect. No one told, you don't see in Mahabharata Arjuna telling Bhima, why Bhima, you are like Bhima, why don't you think like me? No. Or Yudhishthir, why are you Yudhishthir? Why don't you think like us? No. Respecting that person, that you are an individual, you have a nature, you have a way of thinking, we respect that. But that doesn't mean that we agree with you on everything. We agree with you on certain things. On certain things, when we don't agree, we express. Right? We express. And then we come to a mutual conclusion. Okay, this is what we agree, we want to do. So here, this is what happening. She's telling Arjuna, Dhanurveda or military science was taught by Dronacharya with all its confidential secrets of throwing and controlling by Vedic hymns. Gross material science is dependent on material weapons, but finer than that is the art of throwing the arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, which act more effectively than gross material weapons like machine guns or atomic bombs. The control is by Vedic mantras or the transcendental science of sound. It is said in the Ramayana that Maharaj Dashrath, the father of Lord Sri Ram, used to control arrows by sound only. He could pierce his target with his arrow by only hearing the sound, without seeing the object. So this is a finer military science than that of the gross material military weapons used nowadays. Arjuna was taught all this, and therefore Draupadi wished that Arjuna feel obliged to Acharya Drona for all these benefits. And in the absence of Dronacharya, his son was his representative. That was the opinion of the good lady Draupadi. It may be argued why Dronacharya, a rigid Brahmana, should be a teacher in military science. But the reply is that a Brahmana should become a teacher regardless of what his department of knowledge is. A learned Brahmana should become a teacher, a priest, a recipient of charity. A bona fide Brahmana is is authorized to accept such professions. Next verse. Sa esha bhagavan dronah prajarupena vartate tasyatmano riddham tasyatmanordhang patnyaste nan bhagad veera sukripi. So she's calling now, Dronacharya as Bhagavan. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his own son. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. Now she is kind of relating it with Kripi, the wife of Drona, that when Dronacharya died, Kripi, she did not become sati, or she did not die along with Drona because she thought, I have a son, I want to take care of him. So Draupadi is saying, the way I am feeling now, being a sonless mother, I don't want my guru's wife also to feel the same pain. If you kill her son, then she will also become sonless and she will suffer the way I am suffering now. So I don't want her to suffer in that manner because she is my guru's wife, right? So I don't want her to go through that pain. And more than that, if he dies, then she doesn't have any support. For me, you all are there as my support. But for her, her husband is dead, her son will be killed by you. So what will be the support for her? So I don't want to see her suffer. The wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, is the sister of Kripacharya, a devoted wife who, according to revealed scripture, the better half of her husband, is justified in embracing voluntary death along with her husband if she is without issue. But in the case of the wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, the representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Ashwatthama was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashwatthama would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Ashwatthama. So many instructions can be taken from Srimad-bhagavatam. Here we can see that though people in the past, women in the past, they performed sati, it was not something mandatory, it was something optional. If you liked, you do. If you don't like, you don't. Right? But then people, foolish people, they started telling so. Only a chaste lady, if you are chaste lady, then you must do sati. If you are not chaste, then you will not go for sati. Now, this kind of image they created for women in society, that chaste ladies, they must. Only chaste ladies do that. Those who are unchaste, they don't do that. But we don't find that every lady in the Vedic times did agree to become sati. Not necessarily required. Not required. It was optional. If you felt like, okay, I'm useless without my husband and I don't want to live without my husband, so then that lady thought of dying with the husband. But let me also go to the same place where my husband is going, and I would like to be serving him in that situation. But not that everyone had to do that. It was not compulsory. But people, they falsely started conveying this thing. And then later on it became a forceful thing, like even if she is not willing, throw her into the fire, That's what started happening in Indian society. And some people, reformers, civil reformers, you must have heard their names, Raja Ram Mohan Roy and people like that. They were very much against this, They were very much against this. They protested it. And then the Britishers supported the whole idea. And then things changed. So you would be happy to know, it's something interesting. Raja Ram Mohan Roy started Brahmo Samaj. You read about it in history, right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a friend of him, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a genius, actually, a brilliant person. And these people, they studied together. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy wanted to elect Bhaktivinoda Thakur as the head of Brahmo Samaj. He saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur to be so qualified that he wanted him to lead Brahmo Samaj, But Bhaktivinoda Thakur was meant to do something much greater, right, later on. So he rejected that proposal. But we come to know from this that even Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not like the idea of modern, idea of every woman being forced to undergo sati. He was against it. No Vaishnava will agree with that. It's cruelty, just forcing women to jump into fire and kill themselves. That's not the Vedic system. That's not the Vedic culture at all. Vedic culture is sacrifice is voluntary, any kind of sacrifice. We have to inspire people to voluntarily sacrifice. We don't have to force people. Vedas, they don't speak about that. So here we see an example that Prabhupada writes, Kriveri, the wife of Dronacharya, she did not commit sati. She stayed back because the son was there. And for a devotee, why a devotee should be interested in all this? The goal of a devotee should be, I want to go back home, back to Godhead, not where my husband is going. Of course, if the husband is going back home, back to Godhead, very good, right? But then you don't want to become a wife in Golok Vrindavan of that same husband, isn't it? Anyway, so why to commit sati? Correct. So a devotee is not interested in all these things. Fine, this is Vedic culture and chaste ladies used to do that. For a devotee, this is not necessary. A devotee has to focus on something else, which is developing love for Krishna, pure love for Krishna. That's the goal of a devotee. Next verse. Tad dharmagya mahabhaga bhavatbhir gauravam kulam vijinam narhati praptum pujyam vandyam abhikshnashaha. O most fortunate one who know the principles of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipful. A slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipful family members. Actually, because in modern times, people don't have proper knowledge of etiquette. They sometimes don't understand that what we do might be an insult to others. We are not so sensitive about it or careful about it. But people who are very cultured, they are very, very careful of not acting in any way which might be felt by other person as an insult. Very, very careful. So this is something mentioned here because those who are great, they are also very sensitive. We should know one thing, that those who are like animals, they won't be much sensitive. But those who are very, very great and pure, they are very sensitive. And that's why it's easy to offend them. Though they will not take offense, but it's easy to offend them because they are very sensitive. But those who are like animals, they are not so sensitive. So even if you do much, they don't feel offended, right? But those who are very pure, they don't take offense, but it's easy to offend them because they are very sensitive. They are sensitive about people's words. They are sensitive about people's behavior. They are sensitive about every small thing because they themselves are very sensitive in dealing with others. So that's how they also expect. So it's very easy to offend those personalities. Very, very easy to offend them. So one has to be very careful in dealing with those people. Ma rodit asya janani gautami pati devata yathamrita vatsarta rodimyashru mukhi maha. Mukhi muhu. Okay, translation. My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I may grieve for the death of my son. She did not cry constantly like me. Sympathetic good lady as she was, Srimati Draupadi did not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. Text 48. Yai kopitam brahma kulam rajan yer ajitatmabhihi tatkulam pradayatyashu sanubandham sucharpitam. If the kingly administrative order, being unrestricted in sense control, offends the Brahmana order and enrages them, then the fire of that rage burns up the whole body of the royal family and brings grief upon them all. The Brahmana order of society or the spiritually advanced caste or community, and the members of such highly elevated families were always held in great esteem by the other subordinate castes, namely the administrative kingly order, the mercantile order, and the laborers. 49. Sutta Vacha. Dharmyam nyayam sakarunam nirvyalikam samam mahat Raja Dharma Suto Ragyaha Pratyanandadvacho Dvijaha. Sudha Goswami said, "O Brahmanas, King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the queen." So King Yudhishthira is on her party now, on her side. Why? Now Yudhishthira is not a woman, right? He's not a woman. So now what do we say? He's acting like a woman? What do you say? Huh? He's not a woman, but he's supporting Draupadi. Why is he supporting Draupadi? Because though he's not a woman, but he also has a very soft nature. Right? Yudhishthira is soft-hearted. That's what we see in whole Mahabharata, isn't it? And you won't believe, for this soft-heartedness of Yudhishthira, which is now becoming a support factor for Draupadi, Draupadi herself used to speak very harsh words to Yudhishthira. That why are you like this? You are not a man. You are not a Kshatriya. You should learn something from me. Why you should learn something from Arjuna? Why are you like this? Now, it is so interesting. Now he's supporting Draupadi. He is becoming a strong support for Draupadi. I am on your side. But this is for this only, Draupadi has spoken such strong words to Yudhishthira. That what kind of person you are. I mean, I married to a wrong man. You don't know how to act. So many such words she has spoken to Yudhishthira. Because he was like this, he has been like this throughout whole Mahabharata. You see him like that, He's always ready to forgive. Every time. Right? So that's a different, his nature is different. He's like that. So King Yudhishthira fully supported the statements of the queen, which were in accordance with the principles of religion and were justified, glorious, full of mercy and equity, and without duplicity. Without duplicity. Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the son of Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, fully supported the words of Queen Draupadi in asking Arjuna to release Ashwatthama. One should not tolerate the humiliation of a member of a great family. Arjuna and his family were indebted to the family of Dronacharya because of Arjuna's learning the military science from him. If ingratitude were shown to such a benevolent family, it would not be at all justified from the moral standpoint. The wife of Dronacharya was the half body of the great soul, must be treated with compassion, and she should not be put into grief because of her son's death. That is compassion. Such statements by Draupadi are without duplicity because action should be taken with full knowledge. The feeling of equality was there because Draupadi spoke out of her personal experience. A barren woman cannot understand the grief of a mother. Draupadi was herself a mother, and therefore a calculation of the depth of grief was quite to the point, and it was glorious because she wanted to show proper respect to her great family. Right? So we will come later to understand now what is the solution to this situation and why the whole situation has come up like this. Nakulaha sahadevasya yuyudhano dhananjayaha bhagavan devaki putro ye chanyayascha yoshitaha. Nakula and Sahadev, the younger brothers of the king, and also Satyaki, Arjuna, the personality of Godhead Lord Shri Krishna, son of Devaki, and the ladies and others all unanimously agreed with the king. So now all agreed also. This is fine. This is correct. This is what should be done. We should all not punish him more. Right? This is what they agreed. Text 51. Tatrahamarshito bhimas tasya sheyan vadasmritaha na bhartunatmanascharte yohan suptan shishun vritha. Bhima, however, angrily disagreed with them and recommended killing this culprit, who had murdered sleeping children for no purpose and for neither his or his master's interest. So Bhima doesn't agree now. Okay. So earlier, Krishna told you kill. Arjuna did not listen. Then Arjuna bound him by ropes and brought him in front of Draupadi. Why did Arjuna bring? Because Arjuna had promised Draupadi. So he brought. So when he brought, so Draupadi said, okay, you brought him for me. Now I tell you, release him. You brought him for me. Now I am telling you, release him. Why release him? She gives so many arguments. And Yudhishthira said, Arjuna, I also give you the order, release him. Because Yudhishthira was the king, so he's saying, I am also voting for it. right? And the others also said, we also don't hold any grudge, because the five sons were not just the sons of Draupadi only. They were the sons of Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahdev. So all the fathers are also saying, forgive, forgive. Nakula saying forgive, Sahdev says forgive. Everyone says forgive. So everyone agreed to that one decision. Means no one said, I have a grudge. We all say, chalo, forgive. Chhod do. But Bhima says, no, my son was killed by him. I am also a father, right? So my opinion matters. So his opinion is punish him, right? Take revenge or rightly punish him. So in this situation, what will Arjuna do? Nishamya bhima gaditam draupadeyascha chaturbhujaha alokya vadanam sakhyuridam aha sanniva. Chaturbhuj, the four-armed one, or the personality of Godhead, after hearing the words of Bhima, Draupadi and others, saw the face of his dear friend Arjuna, and he began to speak as if smiling. Lord Shri Krishna had two arms, and why is designated as four-armed is explained by Sridhar Swami. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views. Now this is very interesting. Both Bhima and Draupadi held opposite views about killing Ashwatthama. Bhima wanted him to be immediately killed, whereas Draupadi wanted to save him. We can imagine Bhima ready to kill while Draupadi is obstructing him. And in order to prevent both of them, the Lord discovered another two arms. Originally, the primeval Lord Sri Krishna displays only two arms, but in his Narayana feature, he exhibits four. In his Narayana feature, he resides with his devotees in the Vaikuntha planets, while in his original Sri Krishna feature, he resides in the Krishna planet far, far above the Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. Therefore, if Sri Krishna is called Chaturbhaja, there is no contradiction. If need be, he can display hundreds of arms, as exhibited in Vishwarup shown to Arjuna. Therefore, one who can display hundreds and thousands of arms can also manifest four whenever needed. When Arjuna was perplexed about what to do with Ashwatthama, Lord Shri Krishna, as a very dear friend of Arjuna, voluntarily took up the matter just to make a solution, and he was smiling also. So you can imagine, it's very interesting. Krishna having two arms, Draupadi and Bhima coming from two directions, and then Krishna making four arms, and with two arms holding Draupadi and with two arms holding Bhima. So very interesting. I mean, devotees of Krishna must be having fun time being with Krishna. Suddenly, two arms sprout out, and his four arms suddenly. So nice, very nice pastimes of Krishna. They're full of fun, humor. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Brahma Bandhu Nahantavya Atatai Vadarhanaha Maevo Bhayam Amanatang Paripa Anushasanam Kuru Pratishrutam Satyam Yattat Santvayata Priyam Cha Bhima Senasya Panchalyamahyam Evacha. The personality of God is Sri Krishna said, a friend of a Brahmana is not to be killed, but if he is an aggressor, he must be killed. Because that is the reason what Krishna gave in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, right? Arjuna said, how can I kill my gurus? How can I kill my family members? Krishna gave the same reason, isn't it? Aggressor, atatai, you should kill. He's giving the same reason here, logic, same. I mean, if you kill your guru, what's the problem in killing guru's son? You already killed your guru, isn't it? So what's the problem in killing your guru's son? Kill him also. He's atatai. All these rulings are in the scriptures, and you should act accordingly. You have to fulfill your promise to your wife. And then Arjuna, you also gave a promise. Don't forget about that. And you must also act to the satisfaction of Bhimasena and me, right? So he's saying now, I'm on Bhimasena's side. See, Krishna is changing sides. Earlier he agreed, he said, okay, I agree with what Draupadi is saying. Now he's saying, I want Bhimasena's side. So you have to then do what Bhimasena is saying. Purport. Arjuna was perplexed because Ashwatthama was to be killed as well as spared according to different scriptures cited by different persons. As a Brahma Bandhu or a worthless son of a Brahmana, Ashwatthama was not to be killed, but he was at the same time an aggressor also. And according to the rulings of Manu, an aggressor, even though he be a Brahmana, and what to speak of an unworthy son of a Brahmana, is to be killed. Dronacharya was certainly a Brahmana in the true sense of the term, but because he stood in the battlefield, he was killed. But although Ashwatthama was an aggressor, he stood without any fighting weapons. The ruling is that an aggressor, when is without weapon or chariot, cannot be killed. Hmm? So all these were certainly perplexities. Besides that, Arjuna had to keep the promise he had made before Draupadi just to pacify her. And he also had to satisfy both Bhima and Krishna who advised killing him. This dilemma was present before Arjuna, and the solution was awarded by Krishna. What was the solution awarded by Krishna? You do something which will satisfy everyone. That was the solution. He did not exactly tell what to do. He said, you do something which will satisfy everyone. It should satisfy Draupadi, it should satisfy me, Bhima, and you should also not let your promise go in vain. You promise something, you should also not let your words become false. And at the same time, Ashwatthama should also be taught a lesson. He should also be punished. So, keeping all this in your mind, you take a decision. We learn one thing very important from this, that sometimes big decisions should be taken with a lot of patience, and not just jump to do something immediately. Give it proper time, digest, think from different angles. What will be the result of this decision? How will this decision impact the lives of me, other people, people in the society? So much so, one has to think and then make a decision. And it's very important. Sometimes, just because we don't sufficiently think, we end up doing something very wrong. And later on, we repent for it. That if I could have just waited for one day and not taken this decision, or I could have consulted with someone and not taken this decision, And we realize that we could have saved ourselves from a big mistake, actually, right? So I have seen this. I mean, it's my weakness also. I easily come to a judgment, or I easily take up a decision. It's my weakness. Of course, that's because of mode of passion. But I have seen that in my spiritual masters and advanced devotees of Krishna, they are very, very careful in whatever decisions they make. They give it the required time. They don't act on the spur of the moment. They give it required time. They think about it. They can take even days or even weeks if required for one thing to decide. And they wait for, signals from Krishna that yes, this will be the right thing to do. They wait from signals or instructions, guidance from spiritual master, from superiors, from others. They will consult with people. They will ask a couple of people, whether this will be the right thing to do, and then they will decide. And this is what an intelligent person should do. You see from Ramayana, Lord Sri Ram also accepted advices, suggestions before deciding something. It's very important. Only when we are very mean and self-centered, selfish, then, we don't really think. It's not just about my decision. It's also about how this decision going to affect lives of those who are related to me, directly or indirectly. One should think like that, correct? And if one thinks like that, then one can take a decision with so much of maturity. Not just thinking whether it's benefiting me, but also thinking what about it's benefiting me, but then it's causing big harm to others. Then should I take that decision? I should not. If people just start thinking like that, then so much of chaos which is going on in society will not be there. Will not be there. People just start thinking little bit like that. So here Arjuna is put in that situation, very, very confusing situation, and he has to make a decision, right decision, so that he makes everyone satisfied and no one feels offended. Because here the situation is, as I mentioned, 5 children have been killed, and the number of people involved are a lot. The mother is one, but 5 fathers are there. All are involved. It's a matter, related to them personally. Then that person, that fellow Ashwatthama is there, his mother is also involved, and she is also related to them because she's their guru's wife. So many people are involved, and Arjuna is being told to take a decision which will satisfy everyone, right? Which will satisfy everyone. And this is how we can also learn that when I decide something, I should see so many people are connected to me, what that decision is going to leave on those people? How is it going to affect them individually? Then decide, right? Then you decide. You weigh it sufficiently, weigh the consequences of it sufficiently. 55. Sutta Uvacha Arjuna sahasayajnaya harerhardam athasina maning jahara murdhanyam vijasya saha murdhajam. Sut Goswami said, just then Arjuna could understand the motive of the Lord by his equivocal orders, and thus with his sword he severed both hair and jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. So Ashwatthama had this chudamani, a jewel on his head, and nice hairs. So he gave a very bad hairstyle to Ashwatthama and removed the jewel. So now if you give a person a very bad hairstyle, it's very humiliating, isn't it? People will laugh, and also people will know that you did something wrong, that's why you gave such a hairstyle to him. So he cut the hairs at different places. So in some places Ashwatthama was bald, in some places there were hairs, right? The money was removed. So everyone would see that, and that would be very humiliating for Ashwatthama. And for someone who has respect, such humiliation is as good as death. You kill that person. So he killed also, did not kill also. Right? Did both. Contradictory orders of different persons are impossible to carry out, therefore a compromise was selected by Arjuna by his sharp intelligence, and he separated the jewel from the head of Ashwatthama. This was as good as cutting off his head, and yet his life was saved for all practical purposes. Here Ashwatthama is indicated as twice born. Certainly he was twice born, but he fell down from his position and therefore he was properly punished. You see, at the end, he was not left without punishment. He was properly punished. The way he was punished might be different from what initially was planned. Initially it was planned, kill him, right? Cut off his throat. That is the right punishment. Later on they came to a conclusion, no, we're not going to punish him in this way. This will be too much. But he was punished in some other way. Not that he was left. He was punished in some other way. And that punishment led to humiliation, a great amount of humiliation, isn't it? So the job was done basically. The idea was to teach a lesson. That was done. He was properly punished. Next verse. Vimuchya rashanabadham balahatya hata prabham tejasa maninahinam shibirani rayapayat. He, Ashwatthama, had already lost his bodily luster due to infanticide, and now, moreover, having lost the jewel from his head, he lost even more strength. Thus, he was unbound and driven out of the camp. Thus, being insulted, the humiliated Ashwatthama was simultaneously killed and not killed by the intelligence of Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Vapanam dravinadanam sthana niryapanam tatha esha hi brahma bandhunam vadho nanyosti daihikaha. Cutting the hair from his head, depriving him of his wealth, and driving him from his residence are the prescribed punishments for the relative of a brahmana. There is no injunction for killing the body. So brahmana's body should not be killed. Putra shokatura sarve pandava saha krishnaya swanamritanam yatkrityam chakrur nirharanadikam. Thereafter the sons of Pandu and Draupadi, overwhelmed with grief, performed the proper rituals for the dead bodies of their relatives. Thus end the Bhakti-vaibhava purpose of the first canto. Chapter 7 of the Srimad-bhagavatam, entitled The Son of Drona Punished. So here we learn some very important lessons. First is that, when we are dealing with people, we should know one thing, that relationships are of dynamic nature. And if people, they change their mind, we may also have to change the way we deal with them. Initially, Draupadi was very sad, so Arjuna, to pacify her, just to pacify her, told, I'll bring the person, we'll kill him, I'll cut off his head, you stand on his head, and in that way we take the revenge for what has been done. But then slowly, the story started taking a different turn. Ashwatthama released a Brahmastra. Krishna told Arjuna, withdraw both the Brahmastras, and Arjuna tied him like an animal. Then when Arjuna did so, because Arjuna at that moment when he took that decision, I'll kill Ashwatthama, he had taken that decision, out of grief. Now when you take a decision out of grief, sometimes you don't really take a good decision because you are very, very sad. But what happens as the moment passes by, as you spend little time, what happens when that grief starts sinking down, then your intelligence starts functioning better. And then you understand that maybe what I made decision at that time was not really good. Maybe I was too harsh, maybe I was too strong, maybe I was too extreme in making that decision. Sometimes we realize that that what I decided at that moment was not really correct. So Arjuna later on understood that maybe what I said that time, that's too much. I should not do that, not kill him, because after all, he's the son of our spiritual master. He's Brahmana, and he did a mistake. Fine, everyone does mistake. He has done a mistake, so we'll punish, but not punish to that extent. So Arjuna did not want to kill, and then Krishna told, no, Arjuna, you should kill. You promised. You did this. He gave so many reasons to invoke Arjuna's anger. He was testing Arjuna, but Arjuna was like, no, I have understood this is not the right thing. So then they tied rope around him, took him as an animal, brought to Draupadi, because he had promised, I'll bring this person. So he brought him alive. Instead of bringing him dead, brought him alive. Now, if that time Draupadi would have told, I still want to, get this person's head cut off, that would have been a different situation. But then Draupadi also, by that time, she also had become a little mild, the grief had set in and she had become a little mild. So then she said, okay, now he has done this thing, but chalo, we should not do that severe punishment. We should not give. After all, he's again spiritual master's son, and then his mother is alone, and she did not commit sati because he is there, and if you kill him, then she will be motherless, husbandless, she will suffer so much. So they are constantly thinking about the consequences. It's dynamically happening. What we learn from this is that we should be determined, but we should not be rigid. We should be determined about doing something, but we should not be rigid. We should not become like machines. Depending on situation, we should be flexible and act like that with people. Not that, okay, we decided this, now it's decided, we are going to do this only. We don't have to become like that. And this is only possible if a person is very sensitive and also knows dharma properly, So they are, you see, here if you look at this whole episode, I'm sure people who are materialistic in nature, people who don't know about religion, they will find faults with each of these characters. That what kind of people are they? They cannot even make right decisions in life. They keep on changing their decisions. This is considered as a fault actually, right? That you are not able to stick to your decisions. So they will say Draupadi is wrong, Arjuna is wrong, even Krishna is wrong, he is changing parties. This shows imperfection. Perfection means I have decided this and this is only what's going to happen. I am not going to change. Right? But we don't see happening here. They are flexible. They are thinking about it from different angles. They are not concluding. They are thinking, giving it time, letting it settle in, looking at the consequences of what may happen, who all will be affected, what is this going to do. And then they are discussing it out. So Draupadi gives her arguments, and then Yudhishthira says, I agree with her. Till that time, it's not that Ashwatthama is not already punished. Thus, the act of binding him with ropes was itself a punishment, actually. Isn't it? So he was already punished to some extent. The purpose of punishment is what? It should bring humiliation. So humiliation is already done. Isn't it? To some extent, it's already done. So he was already punished. So they said, Abhi jitna punishment de diya, whatever punishment is done, I mean, that's okay. Don't punish anymore further. Chalo, leave, done, it's fine. After all, if you do more than this, then it's not good. Then Bhima said, no, but I want more, little more. I'm still not satisfied. Little more, right? So in that situation, then Krishna told Arjuna, do something which will make everyone satisfied. Everyone will be, okay, fine. We don't hold any more grudge against this person. This person should be punished. So that has to be done. So when Krishna said so to Arjuna, he used his intelligence. Then how can we do that? And everyone is satisfied. He cut off the hairs, cut off the jewel. Fine, done. So whose statements came out true at the end? Everyone's statements came out true. Who was proven right and wrong here? Nothing like that. Right? Sometimes in such situation, what happens is people are more concerned about why should I become wrong? I should be right only. That person has to become wrong. And rather than coming together to decide for something, it more becomes like an ego clash. Right? When it comes to mutually making a decision for a certain thing, you must have seen working together as a team, coming together, meeting, deciding about something. So rather than coming to a decision which will be actually beneficial, the correct thing, what happens? It becomes more of an ego clash. I said this, and you all have to agree to my opinion and my suggestion because I said this, and I cannot be wrong. You are wrong. So here we don't see, these people fighting with each other. No, I told, how can you touch him? Draupadi is not saying that. How did you touch him again? I told not to do anything to him. No, she's not doing that. She's not doing that. Neither Bhima is saying, I told you to kill him. Why you did not kill him? Because here the whole idea was not about my opinion, my decisions, my way of thinking. But the whole idea was, after this decision is executed, what will be the effect of this decision on this person? What will be the effect of this decision on the people connected to this person? What lesson are we sending out to the society? And this is all possible only when people who are in leadership position, they take their individual opinions, their likings, dislikings out of the picture. And then they start acting more as a sense of duty. What am I supposed to do as a sense of duty? It's very important. And leaders, they should take this thing very seriously. Leaders don't live for themselves. Leaders are those who live for others. Then only that person can be a good leader. Otherwise, that person is not qualified to be in a leadership position in any way. A leader means who has stopped living for himself or herself. That person is a leader. That person can actually take a responsible position in society. And that's why they are given the due respect. Why people should respect them? This is the reason people should respect them. Because they live for others. What they decide is for others' benefit. Even sacrificing their own comfort, pleasure, their liking, they will make a decision for the benefit of others. So leadership position means like that. It's a position of being a servant actually. That's why Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he coined this phrase, servant leadership. Basically, a leader is a servant, not a master, but serving through power, through control, through leadership. And that's how, if the leaders of this world become, then all the problems will be solved. Yet in this world, in Kali Yuga, the problem is not that the bottom class people are bad. The problem is that the top class is bad. That's Kali Yuga, right? The top class, those who are supposed to be pure, genuine, honest, simple, renounced, they are not. The Brahmanas are not Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas are not Kshatriyas. So what will the Vaishyas and Shudras do? Isn't it? That's the problem with Kali Yuga. The fault is at the top class. And because the top class is gone, then everything is gone. Everything. This is the reason why Prabhupada has this mission. I want to create Brahmanas. Why this mission of Srila Prabhupada? Because he knows if I create good top class people, the whole society will come in order. I want to create Brahmanas. That's what his goal is. Change the top class. Then automatically things will go proper till bottom. So this is so important that we learn from this episode that the change has to be brought in the top class. And the more we rise up, the more serious responsibilities come on our shoulder. The more we rise up, the more senior you become in ISKCON, the more is expected from you, right? Even whether you agree with it or not agree with it. If you say with your, if anyone says with the chest, very swollen, I am since last 30 years in ISKCON. So then so much is expected also from you. Then you should behave also like that. Not behave like a child in ISKCON, right? Then behave like a 30-year-old devotee. And you should have qualities of a 30-year-old devotee. Isn't it? Your speech should be like that. Your action should be like that. If I say, I am a temple president in ISKCON, so my dear Prabhuji, behave like that. Isn't it? Greater responsibility means greater expectation. I am a Brahmana, I got initiated, second initiated. Very good, so behave like that. So when that will happen, then automatically people who are below, they'll feel inspired. They'll feel sheltered, cared for, protected, isn't it? So here is a message for all of us also. We are Bhakti-vaibhava students. We have to behave like that. Correct? We have to behave like that. Because if you don't behave like that, and then later on people ask and we say, I did Bhakti-vaibhava. So in the back of their mind, they will be talking to themselves, oh really? Are you Bhakti-vaibhava? It doesn't seem so. It doesn't seem so. Right? Right? It doesn't seem so. So we have to behave like that. So the thing is that if we jump into something, we should be also ready to accept the responsibility that comes with that thing. If we are jumping into something, then accept the responsibility that comes with that thing. Otherwise, we'll be spoiling our own name. People will talk bad about us. This person says he or she is Bhakti, but nah. No, doesn't suit that title, doesn't suit this person, right? So everything in life is a responsibility, and if you take like that, we will do justice to it. All right, we'll stop here. Any questions? Ravinder Sachipitra. Oh, cannot unmute yourself. I'm sorry. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, fantastic class. Prabhuji, text 36 में बोला he can kill a, nor does he kill a boy, woman, surrendered soul, and then Prabhupada ji translated as foolish creature. So what would be the scope and definition of the ambit of the word foolish creature?
Foolish creature, he means like, foolish means, some people, if you have seen them, they are very, very dull in the sense that, this doesn't function there.
Okay, that way.
That way. So even if they do mistake, you cannot really punish them very severely. Because
okay. Prabhuji, then even the killer of an animal is to be considered a murderer because etc. etc. So in daily life, killing of mosquito, cockroach, vagara, vagara. How do we? I mean, I've heard these answers, but I've never been able to absorb them.
Why you are not able to absorb them?
My level is not that.
So what answers did you hear?
I heard answers like, if you kill a mosquito, cockroach, why you want to go ahead with the killing? Keep your area clean. I mean, keep your space clean. Jadu वगैरह अच्छी तरह मार के रखो, automatically cobwebs and all these things won't come like these answers.
Cobweb. Now cobweb का mosquito से क्या लेना देना?
नहीं मतलब गंदगी जहाँ पर रहेगी.
Okay, so
हाँ
you
हाँ.
think that dirtiness will not.
Yeah, that
Well, you
dirtiness.
see, actually, it's true. One thing is true. If you keep your house clean, then definitely such things reduce. इसमें तो कोई doubt है ही नहीं, right? There's no doubt about it. Anyone disagrees with that? No, it's natural. If you keep your house clean, then automatically rats and cockroaches and all these things will reduce. Flies and all that will reduce. Now, when you talk about mosquitoes, Prabhuji, let me tell you something. People in the past, they knew how to live. In modern times, people don't know. Like staying away from mosquito is not a big science. It's something very simple. If you go to places like Assam and Bengal, you would see this is happening at present also. Now, city like Mumbai, I'm telling you, mosquitoes are hardly there in Mumbai. I'm talking about Mumbai. But if you go to place like Assam and Bengal, which has a lot of forest area and lakes, pools, mosquitoes are in huge quantity. It's all open area, right? Correct. But still, they know how to live free from mosquitoes. You know
How
how they do?
how?
At evening time, which is the time for mosquitoes to enter the house, they will light some dhoop and they'll spread it around across the whole house. I was born in Bhutan, and we had this house, a big house, very open house, and there was a river behind, and there was so much of jungle area around. So many mosquitoes would come. So throughout the house, one servant will go, and for half an hour he would be, showing dhoop everywhere, windows, doors, everything, just that much. And by that smoke and by that smell, the mosquitoes would just fly out, and mosquitoes won't enter. I mean, you have done 50% of the job by just doing that. After that, what you do? Then you close the windows and doors.
But in Mumbai city, all out is a.
No, I'm telling you what is used to be ideally done,
Yeah, but
right?
now it has become all out.
So you close the door and window because mosquitoes will enter through that only, isn't it? So there's a time to close the door. There's a time to close the window. You close it. After that, also, if let's say some people survived, I mean, they were really, really eager to come in and bite you. They wanted to come in. Then people use mosquito nets. People use mosquito nets, right? They use mosquito nets and put the mosquito net nicely. Don't allow even a small space in for the mosquito to come in. You sleep peacefully.
So what you want to say is that no killing of mosquito also.
Yes, that's what we see from the past. If people in the past could do, why we cannot do now?
But then
Mosquito nets are still available in the market.
I read somewhere, I'm not sure, I wanted to confirm that Prabhupada ji ke sath bhi aisa koi devotee ke sath hua tha, and then he said that if mosquito is infringing upon your bhakti or
Bhakti?
I mean, like you are reading something and then mosquito is
That
disturbing
was a
you, or you're
different,
giving.
nothing like this. I mean, it's not that if you're chanting Hare Krishna and mosquito is disturbing you, then you can say, oh, you're doing Vaishnava Prath, you're not allowing me to chant, so let me kill you. Nothing like that, scriptures don't talk about that.
No, not deliberate killing, swapping or something like that, and then by mistake killing it.
See, the situation is Prabhupada was sitting and then one mosquito came and that mosquito bit Prabhupada, so Prabhupada killed that mosquito. So then the disciple asked, Prabhupada said, now because he has attacked, that's why I have killed.
Okay, that angle. Okay.
So like attack is there, then you kill, right? But it's not then you take that, what do you call that? They
mosquito net.
No, mosquito, they have this racket, with electricity on, right?
Yeah.
And they're such cruel people, they go around and, moving around that mosquito racket and mosquito gets stuck on that and gets killed. I mean, electrocuting those mosquitoes. This is really, really sinful.
That's a real murder.
That's really sinful, right? And you have seen people do that so playfully. And they joyfully do it. I mean, killing the mosquitoes with those electrocuting machines.
Yeah. They also compete. Maine itna mara, tumne itna mara.
Very good.
I'm just joking. And no one can count. Okay. Prabhuji, sorry.
That what they're counting now, then later on Yamadutas will count. Right? उतना उधर 150 तुमने मारा, हम तुमको 150 मारेंगे अब. Right?
Prabhuji, very important point that he who kills the animal, then you said about that he who cooks and admits, and last you eats, all are liable in that punishment. Then my two practical questions are this, that what about a person, a devotee or aspiring devotee working in a company where all this is going on? or an income tax consultant advising a client who is also in like this, which is not allowed as per the 4RP regulative principles. What is their position?
Which
Chhod
one?
dene ka,
Which
chhod,
one?
chhod,
Okay, you're talking about you're working in a company which is involved in.
yeah, involved in the against the 4 regulative principles. Yeah. Then वो client को छोड़ देने का, वो aspiring devotee को job छोड़ देने का. Although in your consciousness you are not, it's not connected only.
No, it depends on how severely it is connected. If it is very directly connected, then one should change the job.
What is the definition of very directly?
Very directly means it's very directly. Now let's say, for example, I am working for a company, then which is working for another company, which is working for another company, which is, let's say, involved in this 4 regulatory principles.
Okay, got it.
It's like indirect, right? But right. Then I am working for a company which is itself totally involved in doing something like that. Okay. Then it's very direct. So then that should be, one should wash off one's hands.
But वो जो indirect है, indirect to indirect,
वो तो आप इस संसार में कर ही नहीं सकते.
तो थोड़ा तो उसका effect punishment.
That you cannot do anything about it. Now let's say you have opened a shop. I'm giving you an example. You have opened a shop, and if a non-vegetarian eater comes to your shop and buys a product from you, you are selling a vegetarian food only, but that is a non-vegetarian diet wala person. So have you not supported him?
I don't know.
No, I'm asking a simple question. Have you not helped him by giving him what he wants to buy? You have helped that person, no?
But you have given him sattvic something. No?
That doesn't matter, but you have helped that person anyway or not?
Help तो किया है ना, उनको serve किया है ना.
Serve किया, right? So now I cannot say because I served a person who is eating non-vegetarian food, then I am also going to help because of that. Because it's an indirect thing, right?
उसको serve भी किया और उसका money भी कौन सा type का है क्या मालूम?
It's an indirect thing.
Yes.
But then if you give meat to that person, then it's a very direct thing.
Okay, got it, Prabhuji. Yeah, got it. Last question. You said a statement that ultimately all the 5 Pandavas had difference of opinions, but at the end it was a convergence to the unanimous. So then in text number 51, how it is saying that all others unanimously agreed with the king, so it validates your this thing. But then in text that is in text 50, and in 51 it says one line, however Bhima disagreed. So here how does that principality is related? Hare Krishna.
There it is not coming, but after a few verses it's coming, no? Then Bhima also agreed, right? With the final decision.
After a few verses it comes.
So just wait for a few verses.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. We'll always wait for your classes.
Yeah, just wait for a few verses and that unanimity will come. If that is the purpose. If we want to agree, we will find all reasons to agree. If we want to disagree, we'll find all reasons to disagree. Because they all wanted to stay together, they found reasons to stay together. And in this world, when people don't want to stay together, there may not be any reason to not stay together, but still they'll go away. Right?
Yes, Prabhuji. You said that after a few verses, the answer comes. So like that only, we have certain queries in our mind. And after few lectures of yours, the answer will come. But then cannot wait till that. So much anxious to get it now. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, answers. Question answers. That's all fine. Main thing is that we should relish the process of Krishna consciousness. Vrindavan Lila Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, here I actually want to understand the real meaning of Vama Swabhava, because the translation, the synonyms, it appears Vama as beautiful and Swabhava is of course nature. Here we read it as beautiful nature. And then in the purport we see that it's not exactly, may not always be compatible with our bhakti. Like if we really want to go and we are not able to discriminate, we are not able to take right decisions, then definitely it's not helping us in any way. So that's one. And secondly, I was just thinking and I was wondering, like we see two extremes even in women characters. Like we see Draupadi, who is so forgiving, but that is not acceptable. And then we see Amba, who is not at all ready to bow. And we see how she is filled with vengeance against Bhishma Pitama. This is happening with women characters. And then even in men characters, we see Arjun, Yudhishthir so much full of compassion. And then we see Ashwatthama, Duryodhan, Dushasana. We have so many names. But we cannot take one stand like everywhere, like it's giving a very different definition. So I just wanted to understand it in a better way. Is it just beautiful nature, or it has to do with the power of discrimination? Like I was wondering how I would react if I am there in Draupadi's place. And I was thinking
Yes,
perhaps
sir. So you can speak that out. Well, how would you react?
I will take a shortcut and I'll just put it on Krishna. He's there present in front of me.
So you'll say, Krishna, you decide out, huh?
Yes. Like it's very fortunate that he's there directly present in front of me. Why should I break my head for that?
Correct. But then
So,
that's because we don't have that kind of relationship with Krishna. Because Draupadi is a friend of Krishna.
yes.
Then she is also playing that part like a friend, not like a servant. That, Krishna, you just keep on ordering and we just do that. Friend is something different, right? Friend is not
Yes.
always an order receiver. Friend is on equal platform.
Very true. Very
So
true.
if Draupadi would have Dasya Bhav, she would not have even spoken up in front of Krishna, because Dasya Bhav doesn't allow that.
Yes.
But because she is Sakhi, she is a friend. So friend means you can openly speak in front of a friend. You can give your opinion. A servant cannot give opinion in front of a master, Even a servant disagrees, a servant will keep quiet. But their rasa is different, so they are acting as per their rasa.
Means what is exact meaning of Vama Swabhava? Like
Vama, you
it's
see, I've heard different meanings of Vama. Like Vama also means leftist. Like
Mhm.
that is called a different nature, Like we have Vama Sakhis for
Yes.
and like
Yes.
that, isn't it? So Vama is a Sanskrit word, it can take two different meanings.
Mhm.
So in some case it means leftist. Now when you talk about leftist, then there is a nature, rightist person, leftist person, right? That is one thing. Here, if you see Vama has taken the meaning beautiful, but then Prabhupada also says Vama as the nature of a lady,
Mhm.
So the word can take two different meanings. In word to word, Prabhupada will not always give all the possible meanings, but in the purport, he will then take all the explanations of all the possible meanings, or he can explain like that, right? So now, instead of going into the technicality of what Vama means, we come to the essence that this nature of Draupadi, how do we see it? Should we see it as a weakness, or should we
Yes.
see it as a strength? Correct. That's the main
Yes.
point. Whether we should see as a weakness of Draupadi or should we see it as a strength of Draupadi. That's the whole point.
Very right.
The point is, uh, it's not about a particular. I'm sorry. It's not about in this situation or in some other situation. It's all about how Krishna wants me to be in that situation. Pure devotees of Krishna, they are not so quality oriented. Pure devotees of Krishna are Krishna oriented, which means in this situation, what will please Krishna the most? So Draupadi, because she is a pure devotee of Krishna, in this situation she may be acting like this, but it's not that throughout the Mahabharata she has acted like this, right? Like I
Yes.
said, in some situations she was very strong and harsh against Yudhishthir also. Why are you acting like this? And that you even know this thing that when Yudhishthir played the dice game and then he lost all of them, Draupadi used to taunt Yudhishthir a lot in the forest. It's because of you we are suffering. It's because of you we are suffering. It's because of you we are suffering. Right? So then how that taunting nature can be called good nature or beautiful nature? Isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Correct. So people, they will act in different situations differently. Sometimes some kind of nature will come out, sometimes some other kind of nature will come out. People cannot be same in all situations, no, they may act different. Some people are very stable, so they are always same, you can very easily conclude this person is going to always act like this only, like this only, like this only, but not all people like that. So here, instead of picking up on certain thing and finally concluding whether this is the right thing, this is the best thing and I should be like this only, we should be more spontaneous. And the goal of whatever we do should be whether this thing is pleasing Krishna at this moment or not. If my being soft, pleasing Krishna at this moment, let me be soft. If my being hard is pleasing to Krishna at this moment, let me be hard. That is the approach which a devotee takes, or that's the approach which a servant has to take. Because when you say a relationship means you change as per the other person who changes. That's for a relationship. Being a good servant means what? Not that, okay, master, you said yesterday you wanted milk, so today also you should drink milk, tomorrow also you should drink milk, day after tomorrow also you should drink milk. No, if the master said today, I love milk, milk is the best food, but tomorrow he says, no, I love orange juice, that is the best food, then you serve orange juice. You don't fight with the master. Yesterday you said milk is the best food, yesterday I gave you milk, you are so happy, so today also you have to drink milk. That's not called relationship or servant. Servant means, relationship means, you are ready to change, you are ready to adjust as per the needs of the beloved. So Krishna's devotees are like that. We are talking about pure devotional service, right? So one person acting in a particular manner in a situation will be considered right or wrong by different people differently, and we should hardly bother about it. The main thing is that by me behaving in that manner, is Guru and Krishna pleased? If Guru and Krishna is pleased, it's all correct. If Guru and Krishna is not pleased, it's all wrong. If Guru and Krishna is pleased, and there are people who are not Vaishnavas, they are not pleased, nothing wrong about it. So our way of deciding something, whether it's right or wrong, should be done on this basis. Ultimately, Krishna is pleased or not. But we cannot come to this conclusion, I should be acting like this only, this only, this only, this only, this only. That's not possible. That's not possible, first of all, and that's not what Krishna wants. So what is considered right here, in another situation may become wrong. What is considered wrong here, in another situation may become right. Right? And how will I decide whether it's right or wrong? By seeing whether the master is pleased. If the master is pleased, it is right. If the master is not pleased, it is wrong. Isn't it?
Yes.
So there has to be it has to be taken in a very dynamic manner. We have to come out of that. And this is possible only when we adopt the mood of a servant more and more. Because a servant means one who is ready to change completely for the pleasure of master. That's called servant. That in all situations, I want to serve you. If you want me to behave in this manner for service, I am ready to do that. If you want me to behave in that manner for service, I am ready for that. And we see that, isn't it? Like, I'm just giving an example. I've seen this and you all will agree with me. A lady, a wife, even for her husband, I would say, it's not that always she is a wife. Sometimes, even for her husband, she is a mother. She behaves as if she's the mother, right? Even for her husband, she behaves sometimes as if she's child. Even for her husband, sometimes she behaves as if she's friend, right? Even for her husband, sometimes she becomes the protector. Sometimes she becomes the counselor. Correct? Agree or not? Huh?
Yes.
Now, why? Because you want to serve that person in all situations, and then you take different roles and responsibilities based on that. Sometimes you have to be soft, and sometimes you have to be very, very strong and harsh also for the well-being of that person. But the ultimate goal is, I want to serve that person. And for that purpose, you take different hats and play that, and then you drop those hats when you don't need that. That's how we have to conclude. We cannot say this nature is right and just stamp it as right, and this nature is wrong and stamp it as wrong, and this is how we should have acted in a particular situation. No, it's all based on that situation, that time, that circumstance. And ultimately, how do I decide it was a right decision, wrong decision? Krishna is happy, it's all right. If Krishna is not happy, it's all wrong.
Very true.
Should be the deciding factor. That's all.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's such a beautiful reply.
Thank you, Matsi. I don't know whether my reply is satisfied or not.
No,
But
it's actually nice because it's definitely inspired by the Lord if we are getting the proper words and the proper explanation. It's really nice.
thank you,
Thank you,
Matsi.
Prabhu.
So this is what I feel. I have understood this through my dealings with my superiors. The relationship means that you have to be very, very dynamic and you have to be very sensitive and alert. And this is possible only if we evolve in our consciousness that being a servant means you try to please the person whom you serve in all situations in whatever way that person expects. Even with spiritual master, I'm telling you something that if you get close in a relationship with your spiritual master, the spiritual master may want you to act as a friend sometimes. The spiritual master may want you to act as an advisor sometimes. A spiritual master may want you to act as a servant sometimes, and a very sensitive and disciplined and a serenity disciple should be ready to accept all those responsibilities. We see that. Prabhupada disciples, they played such roles very nicely. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and Prabhupada wanted him to be a servant. Yes, sir. He would do anything Prabhupada would say. And when then Prabhupada wanted him to be an advisor, then he would also give very good advice to Prabhupada, right? Taking all those hats, but at the same time not being attached to those hats. Ready, very eager to throw the other hat and take on a new hat for the pleasure of the master, right? Because after all, I'm taking that role and responsibility for his pleasure, not that I get attached to that particular hat. I just accept that role for the service and then I drop that role for a new service. So this is how a relationship is, and ultimately we decide on that basis. Krishna is happy, all fine. All right, thank you so much for tolerating me for all these days. Right, some of you send me a message on WhatsApp. Classes are very heavy this time. It's different from Bhakti Shastri. so I agree. Sometimes I spoke very heavily. I'm a small person with a big mouth, and might have said something wrong also. So please forgive me for that. But then, as I said, Bhakti Shastri is Bhakti Shastri. Bhakti-vaibhava is higher. So it means that we have to also gear up, the depth of the studies and depth of our commitment to the process of Krishna consciousness. It should be there. Then we are doing a genuine, service to Prabhupada. It means Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti-vaibhava is not just a degree holder. It should also reflect in our life, in our understanding of Shastra, in our maturity, in our dealing. Then we are doing justice to the title, isn't it? Right? And all of us being honest and intelligent, coming from qualified background, we know that we should be doing justice to the titles that we are having or receiving. It's called integrity, right? If not, we are doing, at least we should try to do, at least effort should be there, that understanding should be there. So that's all. We tried to serve you all. Thank you very much. We'll see you again in maybe second canto of Srimad-bhagavatam.